Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days in today's video first of all. Then we'll have a look at CFSB2 for next month, which just takes us to the start of August. So that's going out towards the last month of the summer, of course. Now, we've been having a bit of a problem with the models over the past few days. At the weekend, they were hinting at quite a warm and dry spell setting up over the coming weekend, so this coming weekend and into the week beyond that. Now, yesterday they completely backed away from that idea and they wanted a flat pattern with westerlies and still further bands of showery rain coming through. Today they've moved back again to anticyclonic and warmer conditions for the weekend. So a lot of chopping and changes. A very subtle difference between having a westerly flat pattern for the weekend, which will be quite cool and changeable, and building in a ridge of high pressure. Not a great deal in it, but it makes a big difference to the actual outcome of the weather. And this morning, the models have all shifted back to that drier, warmer type scenario for the weekend. So we may be on course for our first sort of barbecue weekend of the summer, perhaps, with temperatures going into mid-20s Celsius, a lot of dry weather, although I expect the far north and west always be plagued with more cloud and rain up there. I'll show you the detail in a second. Before I get on with that, if I can just say about the charity fundraiser at Gazovitz. So we are raising money throughout July for the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Air Ambulance. It's a voluntary service. A lot of people think the Air Ambulance is associated with National Health Service and gets money via the government through the National Health Service. They don't. They are a voluntary organisation. The doctors that fly with the air ambulance do so on a voluntary basis, and everything from the helicopter itself all the way down to the smallest blasters has to be paid for by your kind donation. So without people donating money to the air ambulance, there cannot be an air ambulance because they aren't paid for via general taxation. So there's a personal story behind this. It's been a great deal to me and my family, so I thought that through July, Gazovitz would raise money from you for the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Air Ambulance. And we, so far, this is our Just Giving page, and I'm on right now, so far we have raised an incredible £530. We've only been running this for just over a week. We started a week yesterday. Our target at the moment is £750. I've had to raise this a couple of times. I just started with a target of £200, but we blitzed at him the first day, so I went up to £500. We've gone past that. I've raised the target to £750. Can we get to £750 before the end of the month? It would certainly be nice to if we could. So that's where we currently stand at the moment. We are at £530 with a target of £750. We've had 31 supporters donating money to us so far, and a big thank you to everybody that has donated to our air ambulance appeal. If you haven't donated yet, there's a couple of ways you can do it. There's our Just Giving page, which you can see just here. I'll leave the link in the description box at YouTube. There's also links across Gazovitz. Once you get to our Just Giving page, and no, it is our Just Giving page because it says Gavin's page, and there's the Gazovitz logo. You just donate by clicking the orange, the yellow, I should say, donate button, and you'll be able to donate completely securely whatever amount of money you would like to donate. Alternatively, you can text your donation, and to do that, all you have to do is put in our code, which is GWVS77, and the amount you would like to donate, be anything from £1 upwards, and you text that to 770, and if you pay as you go, then it'll just be deducted from the amount that you've got on your phone. If you pay via a bill, then it'll go onto your bill when you make your next payment. And a huge thank you to everybody for donating and getting involved. Gazovitz, of course, is totally free. I've been running Gazovitz since 2012. We don't charge, have never charged for updates. As far as I'm concerned, we never will be charging for updates in the future either. So totally free of charge, and I just ask if you enjoy what we do at Gav's Weather Vids, if you enjoy our videos, our written posts, Terry's longer range stuff as well, if you enjoy all of that, I just ask that you make a little bit of a contribution to the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Air Ambulance, and a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, let's get on with the video then. I'm going to start off with the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. Now, these have shifted from yesterday. So let's look at the temperatures first of all. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. And, of course, we're below average at the moment. I'm going to be staying that way through the rest of this week. Now, at the weekend and into next week, the GFS is showing this large increase in the temperatures. Look at that. We've got quite a warm-up taking place there. Now, yesterday, this was much flatter. Yesterday, it was staying much closer to the red line and only going up to that sort of level, perhaps. So, there has been a shift over the past few hours with the GFS model, most definitely. It is going for a much warmer scenario at the weekend and into next week. That is really quite warm indeed, certainly taking temperatures into mid-20s, possibly for the south, could take temperatures into the upper 20s Celsius during the early part of next week. Now, you see, there is a cool down being predicted as we go into the third week of July, which is next week, really. We see the temperatures easing off. So it probably doesn't last all that long, but certainly that, say, 3-4 days maybe of really quite warm weather over the weekend and into next week. At the same time, we've got a drier trend through this period as well. So we've got precipitation spikes here for the next few days, taking us towards the end of the week. But then we get this drier spell over the weekend and into start of next week. Around the same time that we're getting this warmer in the temperature. So becoming drier and warmer is the message from the GFS ensembles as we go through the weekend and into next week. Beyond that, it looks like this bit of a cool down that's occurring just here is associated with a return of some rainfall spikes, although you certainly wouldn't say it's turning wet by any means, but a little bit more changeable later on next week perhaps. Temperature anomaly for the coming week, about average really. It's going from the 12th through to the 20th of July. So in this period just here, it's taking us from where we are just there through to here. So you see it is a split period. The first half is cooler than average. The second half is warmer than average. So the temperature anomaly averaging it out through the whole week comes out about average. I would suspect if this warming trend is maintained over the next couple of days, I would suspect these will trend warmer and we should see the UK being bathed in red colours if we look at this on Thursday, because by Thursday we'll be losing the cooler sort of period that we're in right now. But averaging it all out, the 12th to the 20th of July comes out generally a little bit around average. The precipitation anomaly generally going a bit drier than average, so that's changed from yesterday as well. Remember, yesterday's precipitation anomaly showed generally wetter than average. Today, the wetter than average anomalies are shifted to the far northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Generally, most parts of the country coming out around or below average with the rainfall. So things have clearly developed, and here we go with the generic chart from the GFS for Friday. And it's this ridge here that's been causing all of the confusion. The ridge is building up from the Azores High, which is a semi-permanent feature down across the central part of the Atlantic. As the ridge builds up from the Azores High, it sends the jet stream northwards. So yesterday, the model wanted to bring the jet stream more or less through the country like that, and only really generated that ridge into central parts of Europe. Today, because the ridge is extending north, that's pushing the jet stream northwards. Of course, it's always a chicken and egg type situation with this. Is the jet stream going north because the ridge is building up, or is the ridge building up because the jet stream is going north? It's very difficult to say which one drives the other. But the upshot is that the model is predicting high pressure to be more influential by the time we get through into Friday. Quite a lot of cloud associated with that to start off with. But as we go through into the weekend, it looks like this high pressure is there, certainly across England and Wales, still being niggled by the jet stream a bit for Scotland. So maybe not really settling down there, could still be showery conditions. But elsewhere, that high pressure is building up from the south quite nicely. As you go through into Sunday, again, a fair amount of anticyclonic influences. Still some sort of trough there out to the north and west. So Scotland, Northern Ireland may never really settle down over the weekend. England and Wales could certainly get the driest and warmest and probably increasingly sunny conditions over the weekend. Now we move into next week and it all goes rather slack. Although by the time you get through to Tuesday, this is probably hinting at thunderstorms. We've got a bit of a trough here setting up over the country and it's staying down in towards France. The ridge is moving into Central Europe at that point. It's all being driven by this low pressure in the Central Atlantic with jet stream doing something a bit like that. So I would suspect this is indicating a thundery breakdown through the early part of next week. Convective fans, if you like a bit of thunder, keep watching this space. Early next week we might get some thunderstorms from all of this. And then we go through into the middle of next week and it breaks down more generally. So by the time we go through towards the end of next week, this is Thursday the 21st, on into Friday 22nd of July, we're back in an unsettled type scenario. So it doesn't last long, this ridge, but for a few days while it's in, it does look warmer and drier. Trough of low pressure by day 10 is centred generally around to the east of the UK with some sort of ridge across Iceland, and that's feeding down much cooler air once again from the north and the northeast. ECWF looking like this for Saturday, so a bit of a north-south split. The south is close to this ridge of high pressure, which looks quite nice. The north close to low pressure, but jet stream still running through the northern part of the country. It's always cooler and more showery there. On Sunday, the high pressure probably takes over a little bit more generally. Still a bit centred to the west of us, though. Just doing something a bit like that. So even on Sunday, Scotland could still be a little bit unsettled. Early part of next week, and we see high pressure really taking over. So at this point, the GFS, you remember, was probably hinting at a thundery breakdown. ECWF looks more settled for the early part of next week, and this will be very warm, I think. If this came off, you could easily be seeing temperatures into the mid to upper 20s Celsius, down across the south anyway, so rising into the 80 sort of Fahrenheit mark early next week if, and it's big here because it is different to the GFS, but if this came off. And then we go through to the middle of next week when it looks like it's turning a bit thundery. This is Wednesday the 20th. Some sort of thundery low is pushing up from Biscay across France, heading in towards southern parts of England, perhaps beyond that. All looks a bit odd, really, but I think this is probably thundery stuff on Thursday 21st. And then Friday 22nd, probably into a cooler air mass then. But again, we've still got a ridge close to us. Again, it's centred from the Azores. The jet stream still generally going something a bit like that. So that looks quite good, actually. Again, there would be a lot of settled weather with that at the end of next week. So the ECWF is sort of going for quite an extended warm period here. Does turn a bit thundery perhaps around the middle of next week. And then it's back to settled conditions later on next week. Is this the beginnings of summer 2016 settling down? Let's have a look at CFS V2 before we go. So have a look at 500 with our heights, break down to weekly periods. The first week is the 12th through to the 18th of July, so the coming week. And it looks unsettled. There's low pressure centred around the country. Remember, this is sort of transitional. So for the first 3-4 days of this period, this is what we're expecting, low pressure dominating. The second part of the period, which is sort of into the weekend and early next week, that is more anticyclonic, particularly for southern parts of the country. It's not quite as straightforward an anomaly for the week as that appears to show. Week 2, which is the 19th to 25th of July, this looks quite nice actually. Above average height centred around the country. Better get rid of that because I've put an L for low pressure and I need to put in a H for high pressure. So we've got the ridge around the country, low pressure's up to the northwest, jet stream looks generally to the northwest as well. That looks pretty warm and dry there for week 2, would be quite a pleasant week if that came off. Week 3, which is the 26th through to the 1st of July, through to the 1st of August, we find the below average heights to the north of Scotland, ridge is out to the southwest, so the jet stream hints, anyway, not a strong signal, but it hints that the jet stream comes back and it turns cooler and more unsettled for the very end of July. And then we go through the early part of August. This is the 6th through to the 8th of August. And again, we've got a ridge out to the west of us. And the jet stream's probably doing something like that. So again, that could be quite cool and unsettled. The CFS sort of hints that if you like warmer, dry conditions, there may be a period around the coming sort of week to 10 days into the third week of July that could be quite good. But overall, make the most of it because it doesn't last all that long. And by the end of July into August, we're back to cooler and changeable stuff once again. That's all very experimental, of course. And we haven't really pinned down what's going on for the weekend. Yeah, it is chopping and changing, but the models have definitely shifted to a warmer, drier outcome, particularly for England and Wales at the weekend. That could extend into next week. It could turn very warm if it comes off down in the south. Wouldn't be ruling out temperatures around 27, that's 81 Fahrenheit, by the early part of next week. But probably not lasting too long, and we may be by Tuesday, Wednesday, where we have to watch out for thunderstorms. Right, that's how it's looking for today's update. Tomorrow will be the 5-day forecast. Hopefully we'll have this weekend period pinned down for that. Also tomorrow is the 40-day look ahead with the Beijing Climate Centre. So come back for all the updates tomorrow. That's all for now. Don't forget to donate to the air ambulance if you haven't done so yet. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.